Hello, hi everyone. It's good to see faces from so many different places here. Because what I'm gonna talk here might be useful, especially for those who come from faraway countries like me. My name is Echo. I'm the creative vice president of Africa, which, by the way, is not an African agency. It's the biggest independent agency in Brazil. So we have a global name. Africa is a global name. But we do work focus on the Brazilian market. That's our specialty. We take care of accounts like Budweiser, Mitsubishi, Suzuki, Procter& Gamble. But we do work focus on what the Brazilians want to see online and in many other mediums. Because the fact is, just like us, consumers today, they live simultaneously in two different worlds. The first one is the world. Everyone is connected and seeing live what's happening all around the globe. But on the other hand, people started gathering again into small groups that are my world. So we can say that some people say this is the new feudalism or the new tribalism. But fact is, this is the new wall that kind of is protecting consumers from brands. And the best way to climb this wall, to get rid of this barrier, is to do what we call global campaigns. There are campaigns that brands might use global assets, but with local flavors. Because if you're not relevant locally for these groups, they're not going to pay attention on you. So we have to collapse these two worlds to create an integrated communication. That's the best way. And I brought here 5 examples of campaigns we did only for the Brazilian market. You guys probably have never seen these campaigns. Only the Brazilians here have, because only Brazilians can understand it. You kind of get lost in translation if you try to explain, and that's what I'm going to try to do here, the context, because it's very Brazilian. On the other hand, their campaigns, they use global assets. There are assets that can be used all around the world. So instead of creating only one single campaign and trying to adapt it to other countries, the best way is to put a local flavor on it, so it becomes more close to the local audience. That's what I'm going to talk about here. First example, let's go the global fact number 1, is football. Football is a global asset, right? It's the most popular sport in the world. But for Brazilians, what matters the most is the futebol. Football is something that happens all over the world. We saw the campaigns of the World Cup, amazing campaigns from Nike, Adidas, and all these huge brands with players from all over the world doing global campaigns. But on the other hand, you have opportunity to talk with the local people about the way they see football and many other things. For example, we did for Itaú. Itaú is the biggest private bank in Brazil and sponsors the Brazilian national team. We did a campaign about futebol using something that's very local, that's very Brazilian. The dribbles. Brazilians love to invent new dribbles. That's how we play football. And every time we invent a new dribble, we give a new name to it. That's very popular in Brazil. For example, let's have a quick masterclass here in Brazilian dribbles, okay? For example, when you're rolling your foot around the ball, like Neymar does all the time, you're cycling. We call this the cycling dribble in Brazil. When you put the ball over the head of someone, it's the hat. You gave a hat on someone, or the sheet, like rolling a sheet over the bed. And it goes on and on. For example, when a center forward is waiting for the ball, he doesn't run. When Ronaldo was fat, he was not running that much, he was waiting for the ball. We call that he's waiting at the bathtub. It's sort of like he's having a bath at the bathtub waiting for the ball. And that's very Brazilian. So we did a campaign totally focused on that, on listing the names of the dribbles that every Brazilian knows. But we used something, nothing is more global today than emojis. The whole world knows emojis. So we did this collapse. We get a global asset, there are emojis, to explain something that's very local, to list the dribbles that only Brazilians understand. Even Portuguese people that speak Portuguese, the same language, they don't call the dribbles that way. That's very Brazilian. So this campaign came up, it's on TV right now in Brazil.
Chapéu pedalada, caneta, drible da vaca, peixinho, lençol, meia lua, frango, carrinho, banheira, milagre, isso é o futebol. A torcida soltando o grito de gol, isso é que é muito legal. O Itaú joga junto em toda partida, porque é digital, digital.
You didn't understand anything, right? But that's the point here. You see for example, when you put the ball to one side and run to the other, it's called the cow dribble. Don't ask me why, but that's the name, the cow dribble. So we used the emoji of a cow to explain this. And when Brazilians watch this, I said, well, these guys are talking to me. But we are using a global asset that are emojis. So that's a global campaign. That could be, it was aired only in Brazil on TV, there's a 30-second spot, but it could be aired all over the world using emojis to explain local things. That's one example. Another one, another global fact, the memes that became famous with the digital world. All the world, they have memes, but something that's very important for a meme is something that happened locally. So it's a global phenomenon, but it only makes sense if it talks to someone or to something that happened in that country. And we had to launch a shampoo from Procter & Gamble in Brazil called Head and Shoulders. And Brazilians, they can't speak English very well, the majority. So imagine someone that can't speak English asking for a shampoo called Head and Shoulders. The name in English is perfect. It has a double meaning that's perfect. But for Portuguese, and you cannot translate. Sometimes you translate the names of the brands. For example, Levi's in Brazil, it's Levi's. Nokia, Nokia. We call our own way. But Head and Shoulders, it's impossible. But we had to launch it. So we went for a local celebrity, let's call him like this, called Joel Santana. Joel Santana is a Brazilian football coach, but he became famous not because of his coaching skills, but because of something that he does that is global. He speaks a bad English. The whole world speaks bad. Bad English is the national language of the Cannes Festival, right? We speak all the time bad English here. I'm speaking bad English now for you. So we've bonded these two elements to create a campaign. And Joel Santana, he used to be the coach of the South African team that happened to play against Brazil. After the match, Brazil beat South Africa. He gave an interview in English. So he became a celebrity in Brazil. Let's see the case here.
Do you know Joel Santana? No. He's not the brother of Carlos Santana. Joel is a Brazilian football coach that got famous when he was training the South African national team and gave an interview in English. Very bad English.
The equipe play very well. Play again Brazil. This match is good for the Bafana because we have play one match good discipline, one match organized, have opportunity for the goal. But the last minute on ball, congratulations Brazil.
His fail English interview became an instant hit on web.
This is me, Joel Santana, and I come here to teach you an easy way to learn the language, porra. The English is my specialty.
So, we invited him to help us solve a little problem.
Please attention to me.
Like Joel, many other Brazilians don't speak English very well and could not pronounce the name of the shampoo Head and Shoulder.
Hep chups.
Tu tá de brinquedo aí de mim, cara?
So we shoot him teaching people on the streets how to say it.
Look aqui, head e shoulders. Head e shoulders. Head e shoulders.
Capitation.
Que?
Shoulders. Head and shoulders.
This video became the most seen commercial ever on YouTube Brazil, with more than 25 million views.
Still the #1 commercial on YouTube, the most seen ever. And basically because we had a problem and we invited Joel, that became a meme in Brazil because he doesn't speak English very well, to solve this problem. So even if Joel Santana can say the name of the product, you can say it too. So basically, a local celebrity selling a global product with a global name. So the bonding, the collapse of these two words worked here very well. Another one we did for Procter & Gamble, based on another global fact, that is to stink. The whole word stinks, right? But we have different names to say it in local. You have to say it in a way that people understand. It's difficult to say this. And in Brazil, the most popular expression to say it with someone is stinking, we call it the CC. If you have a CC in Brazil, you are not smelling that well if someone tells you that. So that's very, very local. Again, very Brazilian. On the other hand, we had to launch the Gillette deodorant in Brazil. And the deodorant, Gillette, they sponsors the UFC. That's a global sport. Very popular in Brazil because of the fighters. The Brazilian fighters are very good on UFC. So we came up with this idea. What if we do the UFCC? That's the heavy smell league. So are the fighters that smell very bad, and they are fighting for the Gillette deodorant to go to the UFC. So we did this, and that's an example of a global execution, because we created this in Brazil, but it's an animation that we did in Sweden, in a company called Mindbinder, and that's the result.
Bem-vindos ao UFCC, a Liga dos Cheiros Pesados. E o campeão leva o antitranspirante Gillette, que elimina o mau cheiro, não mascara. De um lado no ringue, o desafiante, Mike Scotto.
Vou eliminar o mau cheiro de verdade e voltar pro UFC.
No outro corner, o campeão do mau cheiro, Paolo Pizza.
Não aguento mais mascarar esse CC. Esse antitranspirante Gillette vai ser meu.
E começa a luta! O vencedor vai eliminar o mau cheiro e voltar para o UFC. Pizza jogou algo no esgoto.
Mas aí não vale, ele tá armando o triângulo de gorgonzola.
Ah, mas o Pizza vai levar o troco.
É uma chave de esgoto.
Acabou! O vencedor é Mike Scotto. E como prêmio, ele levou o antitranspirante Gillette, que elimina o mau cheiro, não mascara.
And we even use some other expressions. For example, in Brazil, when you have a sweaty armpit, we say that you have a pizza under your arm. That's why the fighter was an Italian, of course, Paolo Pizza. He had a pizza here. So that's things that only Brazilians understand. But it doesn't mean you have to do only a Brazilian execution. That's a global execution. And every time, for example, I've shown this and the Joel Santana for some guys in India, and they said, wow, we have a lot of players in India that speak bad English that could easily be adapted for India as well. So the point here is, okay, we need to go to do global communications, but you can change the message accordingly to each country, because that's the best way to reach these audiences. Another example, very Brazilian as well. We've used music. Music is the universal language, right? But what we did a campaign for Vivo. Vivo is the biggest telco in Brazil, using bands that are very famous locally, like Legião Urbana, Raul Seixas, Cazuza. Even the band leaders, they're dead already because those bands were from the 80s. every country had bands that were famous at the 80s and they're gone now. With one thing that it's global as well. We didn't have video clips at that age. So what it did for Vivo, these bands, they were very famous, but they never had a video clip. So we shot the video clip for Vivo, including the mobile phone on it. So it's a brand content that we did. And all these songs, they're extremely famous. All the Brazilians here, they can sing by heart these songs because they're very famous, but they never had a video clip. So we solved this. We created a sequence of video clips, putting the phone inside it. So that's a way of doing something that is very relevant for the local audience. They became hits again in Brazil, playing at the radios. They went to TV and, of course, on YouTube. But they have something that is global, music from the 80s. And it could easily be a global platform for any brand. And then last, but not at least, something that's why I'm here, and that's the most global thing we have here, YouTube. Nothing is more global than YouTube. That is a global platform, but you have a local activation of it. And it brings a lot of results for brands and also for agencies. And that's what happened with Africa. Africa, as I said, is an agency focused only on the Brazilian market. And we started doing a lot of work on YouTube. And we became the #1 on YouTube. From the top 10 most seen videos in 2014, 5 were ours, including the top 2 ones, the video clip for Vivo and the Joel Santana. And most important of that, for the 10th anniversary, they've launched the list of the 10 most seen videos of entertainment in Brazil as a whole entertainment, including memes, and 3 of them were advertising we've created. So we became part of the Brazilian culture with this. But not only in Brazil, because of that, we won by Advertising Age the International Agency of the Year prize in 2014, and we are elected one of the top 10 most creative agencies by Adweek without winning a single lion here in Cannes last year. So that's my message for you guys. Get lost in translation. Stop thinking globally and start thinking glocally. Thank you very much.